So the next recipe to work on is binding the excerpt to a block. Okay, this is a bit more fun. For this one, let's take a look. We're going to craft a custom block binding source and then connect a block variation to the post excerpt. Now I know there is a post excerpt block, but this is just a really great example of showing how you can do this with a custom binding source. So again, we're going to take the same command here. I'm going to jump back over to cursor. I'm going to kill this. I'm going to come back into my plugins directory and I'll run this, which is all found there. So this is going to generate a new plugin called bound excerpt. The first step is we're going to be defining a custom binding source. So I will take us through this code. Once this is done, it'll take a couple of minutes. Good. Okay, so this is going to be bound excerpt, npm run start. We got to make sure our plugins are active. I'm going to activate the bound excerpt. Sweet. All right, so the first step is defining a custom binding source. We're making a connection between a block attribute and some piece of data, right? So, yeah, and as of 6.7, there's only one source available, which is core post meta, which is extremely handy. But if you wanted to do anything else, you have to kind of roll your own. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to add a couple of chunks of code here to the block, or sorry, the plugin registration file. I'm just going to close this down. So inbound excerpt, we're going to grab this. I'm just going to paste this down at the bottom. This code is just enqueuing the JavaScript that I want. So the first part we're doing is we're adding to the init function, we're going to register a block binding source. We're going to give it a namespace. So block developer cookbook /excerpt. It's going to get a label, code post excerpt. We're going to get value callback. Inside this namespace, which is block developer's cookbook, we're going to look for retrieve excerpt binding. And then we're going to tell it what context that the source needs to use. So it needs to have access to the post ID. So in our callback here, it's going to take two parameters, the source arguments and the block instance, right? So we want the post ID. So we're going to get the context we're going to get the post ID from this instance, the context. Remember, we passed context here. And then we're going to get the current post, whatever the post is, and then we're going to return the current post excerpt. Now, there's probably some hardening up that we can do with that code, but I wanted to keep it sort of as simple as possible just to see. So now that we have the custom binding in place, we can connect a block that supports it. Now, as of 6.7, there are paragraph, header, image, and button blocks that we can use. I may have to zoom that in, actually. Now that I think about it. That's way better. Sorry about that. So unfortunately, there's no UI for this because custom stuff doesn't have it. So you have to do it this way, which is fun. So we're gonna come in here. We're gonna switch over to our code editor. I'm gonna delete all that. I'm gonna paste this in, right? And then now if I set the code excerpt, right, this is gonna, now it shows us down here. Now it shows us that we've bound the content attribute of this block to our post excerpt. So this is the thing that we've created. So it says post excerpt there because we've given it the label of post excerpt. So there is no post excerpt. So let's add one. This is the excerpt. You know, you'd think I would have maybe created something that I could actually spell. So let's publish this and let's see. I don't think we're going to see much of anything right now. Okay, so this handles it on the back end. So we've got, this is the excerpt. That's cool, but you notice we've got nothing here. That's okay, we'll get there. We've also noticed that we have to manually come in and edit this every time. So we don't want to do that, that's annoying. We're going to create a block variation to preset this stuff. So I'm just going to grab all this code and go into bound_excerpt.js, which is in our source, bound_excerpt.js. I'm going to drop it in. I'll take us through it. So we're importing a register block variation. This is a variation of the core paragraph block. We're going to give it a name. This is block developer cookbooks /export. Then we have the title, which is that, a description. So we're doing our set active again. Sorry, or is active again. So it's checking for metadata.bindings.content.source. And then we're setting the attributes for this particular variation, which is metadata bindings content source. So if this value matches the value in a paragraph block, then this is a variation. And so it will show this variation. So, can't remember if I have the build going. I do. All right. So if we show up over here again, nope, not there. Show up here. I'm gonna say this, should show in here. This should tell us that this is whatever I called it. I can't remember now. What do I call it? Bound excerpt. So this should change from paragraph to bound excerpt when I refresh. There we go. So now, oh no, that's the name of the post. So in here, so now we know that this is the variation. So this is the bound excerpt, which is great. It shows up in here as bound excerpt. So we can insert another one of those. So we have essentially like a new block for this, right? Which is great. That's super cool. It still works. So we'll save this. It still works on the front end. No problem, no problem. So yeah, so we have this, that's cool. So in the block editor, we're still not seeing anything, right? So this is the next part of it, which is super fun. So if you remember with just standard block bindings, if you were to connect something to post meta, you sort of have that like two-way editing. Like you can insert the block, it'll show you what my hands cut off here. It'll show you what is displayed, but you can also edit it. So that's what we're gonna add now to our block binding source. So I'm gonna, again, just grab all this stuff and drop it down here. So this is registering a block binding source. So if you remember, we kind of registered it here for the server side, right? And we added a get value callback. So this is retrieving. This is gonna kind of do the same thing. So this takes a few different parameters. So the label is post excerpt. This is what we're gonna see, right? So this is the important part. So this name has to match the name that we defined in here. So that's the name of our block binding source on the server side. This is the name of our block binding source on the client side. Okay, and now we've got get values. So what this is gonna do, this takes, I don't know if you'd call this a thunk, I think maybe, but this is a function. It receives the select parameter among some other things. I think it also gets dispatch. It receives bindings. It receives it and probably context as well. But we're only going to use select for this. And what we're going to return is is that the key? Let me just see. No, I can't remember. Content. So the content, yes. So the binding is going to be to the content. It's going to return content, and it's going to get from the core editor, get edited post attribute of excerpt. Let me move my face again, sorry. This is hitting the data store and retrieving the excerpt from it and displaying it in the block editor. And so set values does the opposite of that. So we have a dispatch and we have a bindings. So dispatch is how we tell the store to update something. So we're gonna dispatch core editor, we're gonna edit post, we're gonna set the excerpt of the post to the bindings.content and then whatever the new value of that content is. So as we're typing, this new value becomes the thing that we've just typed. So let me just save this, make sure that this is working. So we'll refresh this. First thing that we see, okay, now it actually matches what's in our excerpt. So if we go to the post, you can see this is the excerpt. And now I'm gonna say, no, now, this is the excerpt. And you see I'm never gonna spell this right, so you're just gonna have to get used to it. So you see, I'm editing this, it's editing here, right? So this is all sort of like a two-way thing, and now this is writing too, right? So this is very cool. So we've completely connected this. We can see that our block has got the attribute, again, stupid face. It's got the attribute connected down here, and we're all good to go. The last thing that I just want to quickly mention is there's this can user edit value. So what you're going to want to do here is do sort of basically a permissions check. This is where you can control who can actually edit this, right? At this point, it's just always returning true because I didn't want to mess around with it too much, but you may want to put stuff in here. That's it. That's kind of it. We've kind of done it. And so now what's really cool about this is you can actually just use this in your template, which is exactly actually what I'm doing in here. This block, this one that you're looking at, if we look at the site here, is that in the content? That is in the content. So if I edit this post, I'm taking you behind the scenes here. You can see that this is actually, that we're here. Look at that. It's the bound excerpt block that I just built. So this is actually using it. Yay! Oh.